Hello yogis, my name is April and welcome to the Yoga Ranger Studio and welcome to our practice today. Today we're going to be focusing on a winter restorative yoga practice by request. You asked for a practice to help you move through the winter or to connect to that energy of winter. And so this class is about connecting to the meridians related to winter time, which would be the kidney and bladder meridians. So the kidney meridians run in the inside of the leg up into the lower belly space. And the bladder meridians run from the inside eye all the way down the entire back of the body to the heels and all the way up to the toes. So it's the entire back line of the body and that inner line of the legs that we're working with today for our practice. So for props for this practice, I like to put a blanket underneath just for support for restorative. I want the ground to be gentle and soft, so this is optional, but a throw blanket would work here really well. Another blanket or a beach towel or a couple of towels to give you a little height and a little cushioning for a couple of our poses. We'll be starting with it in a 4 stack, so we kind of fold it over so it's a little bit taller, and then we'll roll it up for later. And I'm sitting on a bolster, but if you don't have a bolster, taking a couple of pillows off your bed and stuffing one of the pillows into, both pillows into one pillowcase. That will help firm it up and make it kind of like a bolster. Or you can use a couple of throw pillows or a large pillow off your couch or a bigger pillow that you have in your home as well. Or a multi-stack of blankets or towels can work just as well for our practice. So starting seated upright, we're going to take hero pose here. Knees a little bit wider because oftentimes we have them a little bit more narrow in that pose. Feet back behind us, toes tucked under, a little bit of stretch for the top of our feet to activate some of those lower body meridians. Roll the shoulders back a couple of times and let your hands rest palms down on your lap. Just noticing your breath at the beginning of our practice. Oftentimes we come to the mat in our restorative yoga practice from a busy, fast-paced day, and what we need is a few moments just to come into the practice, to settle into our mindset for the practice. Keeping in mind that restorative yoga is about letting the poses do all the work for you, no effort, just ease. Allowing the body to soften into the props and making use of props to make the pose really gentle and kind. This helps our body move into the parasympathetic nervous system and heal and rest and connect. Bring your hands together at heart center and begin to rub your palms together, building a little bit of heat, maybe looking down into your palms. Get a little warmth going, especially if you're in winter and it's a little cold today. Build up some heat. And then bring those palms together at heart center and just feel that heat. Feel that warmth of your palms. If you know you have a spot that's particularly cold, you can always bring those warm hands to that space. Sometimes my feet are always cold. And then taking a nice deep inhale and exhaling it all out through your mouth. One more time, inhaling deeply through your nose. And exhaling out through your mouth, maybe with a sigh. And we're going to be ready for our first pose. So Lucy has taken my blanket. I will take it back. Take that blanket so that you can sit on the very edge of it. And this allows us to tilt our pelvis without much work. So if you have a lot of tension in your hamstrings or in your lower back, this will make it a little bit easier. Bring the bottoms of the feet together a little further away, maybe more like a diamond shape, sort of a sideways diamond. And then you can either take your feet a little wider and have them hold that bolster up, or you can put the bolster on your feet. Whatever we're doing, we're just resting our head on the bolster and relaxing into it. So sometimes it feels better to pull those feet just a tiny bit closer and slide that bolster. So the bolster is going to be, our head is going to be kind of holding it up, and it's going to be pressing into our forehead. This is going to give us a little support. If you have more mobility and you can come down a little bit lower, you can always lower that down and bring your head all the way down. But that's not there for me today. And I like a little compression on my head, my forehead. It's very soothing. We find that this pressure point is very calming, very settling. And just noticing your breath and dropping into the pose. Letting your head just rest on that bolster. So maybe at the start of the pose, you feel like you have to hold the bolster up with your head, so you're kind of pushing into it. Just let your head get really heavy. Our heads tend to be quite heavy anyway, so just let your head get heavy into the bolster and hold it up naturally. Honor the space of winter by turning in, becoming more still and quiet. So I won't be talking a lot more after this. Just letting you slip into your practice. Begin to take your hands to that bolster and lift your head off. Let the bolster drop down. Take a few breaths here just with your hands on that bolster, knees wide. For our next pose, we're not going to need that bolster, so you can take that off to the side. Coming down here, bring that blanket that's folded up off to your right hand side. You're going to come all the way down onto your belly. And slide that blanket where your knee's going to come out to. So you can take your knee out to the right. My helper is being less than helpful today. So you're in a supported frog, but you have a little bit more lift in the inner thigh. Now here you have a couple of choices. You can rest with your head on the back of your hands. You can rest on top of that bolster with your arms up, and that's going to get a little more back bend to this pose if you want. Or you can just rest your head, take your right arm out to the right, left arm out to the left. Maybe feeling your belly as it breathes into the floor beneath you, that comfort of the ground beneath. Very slowly starting to press yourself up and shifting that right leg back super slow. Maybe coming into Sphinx pose for a breath or two here. Dropping your chin to your chest. And then reaching for that blanket or towel. And sliding it this time over to the left side, where you can place your bent knee and leg for frog pose here. Here again, taking whatever version you like here. That could be up on the bolster with your forearms, or your palms flat, your head flat on your palms, or your head turned to the same direction as your knee. Very slowly start to slide that left knee back behind you. Maybe you come up into a Sphinx pose again, dropping your chin to your chest. Nice deep inhales, nice deep exhales through your mouth. And slowly, very slowly pressing up. We're going to set up for our final pose before Savasana. So taking your blanket or beach towel, we're going to unfold it. And we're going to roll it up. And this is going to give us a little bit of sort of a ramping effect for our next pose. And we're going to place that at the top of our mat. We're going to get our bolster back from our cat and place that bolster right up against that rolled blanket. Come onto the bolster with your seat and then slowly start to lower yourself onto it. I like to get my shoulders on the floor, but that roll is going to give me just a little bit of a ramp so it's a little bit more comfortable. Take your feet, maybe walk the heels a little bit wider and drop the knees or the toes together. If this is too much for your back, go ahead and bend your knees, maybe dropping those knees together or just keeping the legs straight. Tucking the shoulder blades underneath, making any adjustments you need. Your arms can be out to the side in a T, or your arms can be up overhead or somewhere in the middle. Whatever feels best for you, and it's really easily sustainable. If your arms are hanging out in space, maybe a blanket or a towel or a pillow underneath your arms. Just taking yourself so you can have some grounding here with your arms and shoulders. This gives us a nice back bend to bring balance to the bladder meridian all along the back lines of the body. It also helps us take some really nice deep breaths. Wherever you're at, very slowly dragging one heel at a time till the feet are flat and the knees are toward the ceiling. Walking those feet in a little bit further. Starting to take your arms back down a little bit lower if they've been up overhead, and gently pressing through your feet, lifting your hips and shifting that bolster or pillows out from underneath you and pulling that blanket roll as well so that your back is completely on the floor. Drop your knees together. And very slowly roll over to your right side and gently make your way up. We're going to set ourselves up for our last pose, Savasana. So taking that bolster widthwise on your mat, you can take your blanket and either use it to cover yourself up, or I like to take it where I fold it in half so it's a bigger square, to give my shoulders some support and my head. So maybe your bolster goes down a little bit and you get your shoulders resting there, or just sort of the base of your shoulders is at the edge of that blanket. Let your knees fall wide, arms out to the side or hands on your belly space. Maybe if your neck is a little bit tense, you take that blanket and you fold a little tiny fold right where your neck would be. So you can kind of tuck it around your neck and it lets your head be supported and it kind of gives your chin a little bit higher tilt up. That might feel good for your neck if you've been having a lot of neck tension. Whatever version of Savasana you like, settle in, cover yourself up. Stay warm and cozy. little poetry for us today for wintering. From David Whyte's River Flow, New and Selected Poems. Coming back to the house. Coming back to the house, I lean down into the snow and pick it up with both hands, where it shivers like a small animal stirred by the cold breeze. A black leaf, torn in the center, a swirly crisscross of dark and striated white put there with startling urgency. One gaping hole shows me how a cut edge crinkles. There is a small curve at one end where a piece of grass sticks to it. In my closing hands, it makes a sound like parchment, but nothing is written. It is cut, torn, and fragile, and balances on only a thin line of its stem. A fallen leaf. 3 months after even the last of summer, how dark it seems against the snow. Entering the house, I walk over to the table and put it down, and touching one end, I make the leaf rock. A cradle for quiet thoughts as night draws close. Very gently beginning to deepen your breath. Bring some movement to your hands and your feet, maybe making circles or wiggling them around. On an inhale, taking your arms up overhead and stretching through your fingertips as if you're coming out of a long winter's nap. Then slowly rolling over to your right side, taking a breath or two here. And then when you feel ready, making your way back up to a seat using your props or seated however you want. Here again, bringing our hands together at the heart center and beginning to rub your palms together to build a little bit of heat. Going as fast as you feel comfortable, feeling that heat beginning to build here. And then gently placing your palms over your eyes, feeling the heat of your palms. And then placing your palms wherever you feel you may need some comfort or some care. Whether that be a physical or emotional aspect, placing it wherever you need something warm and comforting. Maybe it's more than one place. And gently bring your hands together back at heart center. Palms pressed together, head bowed softly. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice, taking this time for wintering, being still and quiet, and bringing some balance to the kidney and bladder meridians related to this time of year. May this practice bring you some softness and some stillness, and some sense of that turning inward that is the magic of winter. Have a great week. Peace.